There's a cute
There's my cute good evening. My name is Kyle Morris, and I'm a state representative out of Bennington, Vermont, and it is my honor to be able to give the introductions today for our keynote speaker. But before I begin, I need to make a couple of really important acknowledgments. The first being, I thought it was a beautiful tribute to learn about the men of Emerge and the important work that they're trying to do in supporting women in their journey to be able to be public servants, to be leaders, to be mentors to the next generation. My husband has been a tireless, unrelenting supporter of my work in days when I didn't think I wanted to do this. He didn't give me an option. He's cared for our son in so many beautiful ways while I've been away, cared for our family, and kept our family tight, which is so important because while you have a strong legislative family and you have your community, going home is a lovely, lovely thing. Speaking of Men of Emerge, I also have to give a special shout out to one of the nominees for the Lifetime Achievement Award tonight, Barbara Rachelson, her husband, Don. Let me tell you about how we look out for each other here at Emerge. So we drove up 3 hours to come be here tonight. And after being away at the legislature so long, I couldn't bear the thought of not spending as much physical time as possible with my husband and my son. But coming here tonight without a sitter would mean I would have to leave them both behind. Barbara's husband, Don, stepped up, and he is watching my 6-year-old son. We do here in Emerge. So tonight I have the pleasure and the honor of introducing our keynote speaker for the evening. Speaker of the House, Mitzi Johnson. Now, I had a great speech written out, but I was told I only have 2 minutes, so I'm just going to have to make it special. So Mitzi, I cannot tell you what a sense of pride it is to see Mitzi at the helm of our House of Representatives. Now, the House and Senate are kind of two separate creatures, and the House can be a little bit unwieldy. And I remember last year having a conversation with the Speaker about whether or not she would go for this position. And I could not think of someone more talented, more brilliant, more capable, more diplomatic, more experienced, with a deeper level of knowledge about our state government than pretty much anybody than Mitzi. And I knew that going into this next biennium, we were going to need someone that would be able to manage things with wisdom, with grace, and with diplomacy. And I cannot tell you how crucial that is right now, at a time where, when we came into the last biennium, we had this new group of kids that we called I called them anyway, I called them the disruptors, that were very much entrenched in Tea Party ideology, that wanted to come and just tear it apart, say some of the most vicious, horrible things that you could ever imagine, where you were just saying, where are their moms? Where are their moms? If they're saying these insane things about the state we live in, about the people who live in this state, and about how our government should run. And knowing that we have what we have for our federal administration, that it was really easy for people to pick up that torch, be given that permission to come with that same veracity, that same fury that is molding itself into violence right now. Physical violence, spiritual violence, psychic violence, mental violence throughout our state. And we needed somebody who could keep it together, keep people on track. And that's what Mitzi has done. And she has kept the House a warm, welcoming place, kept our State House a place that's welcome to all. She's open to all ideas. She even offered an opportunity for my son to come and present his strong proposal for us to establish a pajama day at the State House. I greatly look forward to when she gets to introduce that on the floor by request, of course. Without further ado, I give you Mitzi Johnson.
So, persistence by nature is a long road. So I'm just going to take you back to the summer of 1999. And my day involves farming, bit of construction work, substitute teaching, little teaching piano on the side. I'm there one summer day planting hundreds of tomato plants. And I'm involved in community volunteer activities and just living my small town life, and politics is nowhere on my radar screen. In fact, was busy making fun of a fellow farming colleague by the name of David Zuckerman, who was running for state representative office. And so I'm out there in the field, and a former legislator, Representative Jane Potvin, comes up and says, "I'd like to talk with you about running for state representative." Who, me? You know, our state rep, he's not a bad guy. You know, he runs the little local stores, he's a decent guy, he helps out at the farm, you know, for apple harvest season, and Republican, but not terrible. She just said, "Here, I just want you to read his voting record. Just have lunch with me, it's all I'm asking." Okay, I can do that, right? So in this process, I learned very quickly that this very pleasant guy voted against prescription drug assistance for seniors, voted against supports for women and families, voted against fair and equitable tax reform, and basic environmental protections, and I realized that I was not being represented. And not only that, he was also at the time the Republican majority leader in the House, so it's not just that he was voting for these things, he was helping to create them. And I began to realize that while he's being a very pleasant, contributing member of our community, he was running opposed for all these years, and none of us really knew what he was about. And it began to sink in that democracy, if you don't have a choice, is irrelevant. So I thought, all right, well, you know, I could give this a shot. I would at least be providing a choice. I'd be learning a lot. I'd be giving voice to perspectives that hadn't had a platform for the islands in a while. And I called my parents and said, "Hey, you're not going to believe this." And my dad said, "Well, you know, even if you don't win, you're going to learn a lot." And my mom said, "Why you? Couldn't they find somebody better?" Story. So I was kind of settling in to this choice of at least giving voters an option. It was about 16 months from the election, and I thought, okay, yeah, I'm at least going to give it a shot. I had been active as well in the Freedom to Marry movement, and so that winter I went down to the State House, one of my first times ever in the State House, to watch the debate on civil unions, and watched my representatives say awful things on the floor of the House in a public debate about basic rights, something that was a no-brainer to me and the people I cared about. And that was the moment. I still remember exactly where I was sitting in the balcony there, and that was the moment where I flipped from, okay, I'll give this a shot, to providing people a choice, to, oh my God, I want in. I want to be one of the decision makers. And that really solidified my resolve to run. So I worked my tuchus off that summer and knocked on doors and sent postcards and, you know, kissed babies and shook hands and all that stuff. I know some of the people here were with me in that first campaign. Sue White spent many hours, late in the evening. I was at her house until past midnight, finessing some of my graphics, Garrett Sadler pored over scores and scores and scores and scores of spreadsheets and Excel files and voter checklists and mail merge, and Larry and Ann Forcier were there contributing and urging me on and really providing, just giving me a little ballast and helping with that persistence. And I lost. But the key was I kept my opponent busy, right? He couldn't be out as the majority leader raising money for other people and knocking on doors for other folks. I made him spend his money in our district. I made him stand up and say, here's what I stand for. I made him define himself. And so for those candidates that have run and lost, you have contributed an incredible amount. And I was warned that it might take a little persistence. So appearing in the ads, in the Islander, it's a weekly paper that comes out on Tuesdays, appearing in the ads that first election day was an ad for me saying, thank you to voters for a race well run, for an incredible experience, and I'm running again in 2 years, win, lose, or draw. Fast forward 2 years, I'm in. I walk in the door with Helen Head, Patsy French, and many others. And that first term was really hard. We're in the minority. Being in a political minority or any minority is no fun at all. We lost a lot. But we persisted. And, I was in a committee with an incredibly unfair process. I was 31 and I kept getting mistaken for 13-year-old pages, at which point I stopped wearing green. I didn't dare to put on, I had this really nice green silk jacket as like a hand-me-down because I have a construction and farming wardrobe, right? And I put it away until I became chair of appropriations. I thought, go ahead, mistake me for a page now and see what that does to your budget. So it was a hard term, and we were getting closer to taking back the majority, but no guarantees, right? And I wasn't sure if I really wanted to be back. It was great. I got to serve with really good people, but it was so hard. I was 10 years younger than the next youngest woman. I was hit on and propositioned by married men in the House. We won very little. And I needed to find something to keep me going. And the thing that kept me going, door knocking all fall and doing it all over again, was, damn it, I'm going to get back there and I'm going to vote for the first Democratic woman speaker this state has ever seen. I'm just getting corrected. She's the first Democratic woman speaker. And there were some days that I even thought, I'm not even sure that I'm up to serving another term, but I'm going to get there on the first day, I'm going to vote for Gay Symington, and then I'm going to see how it goes. And you know how that turned out. And from there, another 7 terms rolled by. Gay saw something in me that I wasn't ready to recognize and put me on the Appropriations Committee, where I spent 10 years. That's where I got to work very closely with Representative Martha Heath, who taught me an incredible amount about patience and fairness and careful deliberation, and was quite the contrast in process and inclusion to the first chair that I had. And there were so many incredible women along the way that it was just worth coming back for one more term to do yet another piece, to make a little bit more progress here. And I have a tradition on the day after election. Win, lose, or draw, and you know I've done both, I stand out on the causeway on Route 2 in the middle of the lake with a thank you sign the day after the election for one last honk and wave. And on November 9th, I wasn't much in the mood for celebrating. I was going into this election thinking, oh my God, we could have a woman governor and a woman president and a woman speaker. What a trifecta. And of course, a woman treasurer. And like so many of us, I woke up so incredibly disappointed and angry and frustrated and heartbroken on November 9th, but really felt like I had this responsibility to my constituents and as one of the people who made it through the election standing, to get out there and put a face on that. And so I'm standing out there, and it was mild. It was very still, which is rare in the middle of the lake in the islands. Figured, okay, I can stick this out for a little while. I'm standing there, and even though the sun is getting up, is up, it's like slowly getting darker, and the clouds are kind of coming in, and there's this heavy, heavy mist. It's sort of rolling in. It's really ominous. And this is connected, believe me. Is anybody here a Harry Potter fan? So I'm sitting out there, and all I can think is, oh my God, it's happening already. Trump's Dementors are coming. And many of you will know that these soul-sucking creatures of horror have one antidote, which is chocolate. Right? God bless J.K. Rowling. So I head off after I put in a respectable amount of time. I head off to my local store to get the fixins for hot chocolate. And I meet my friend in the parking lot who is crushed that she's just had the experience of dropping off her third grade boy, who she and her husband adopted with his brother from Ethiopia, off at school. And the 7 or 8 year old says, "Mommy, does the new president hate me because I'm black?" You know, and my nieces and nephews calling saying, "Oh my God, what are we gonna do, Tanta Mitzi?" Hi, they were 3 and 7 at the time. I said, we're going to keep putting one foot in front of the other. We're going to keep our friends close. We're going to take care of our friends. And then when we're ready, when we have a little bit more courage, we're going to take care of the people who aren't our friends. Because that's what we do in this country. And that's what Democrats do. And we're going to make it work, and it's going to take a little while. And there's this, all of us felt some version of that, November 9th. And we all saw that there's this veil that's been shielding privileged eyes from the sexism and the racism and the xenophobia that's always existed in our country. And Trump and an ever more conservative GOP have pulled back that veil and exposed what's always been there. And it's now our opportunity and our responsibility to deal with that, to dismantle that, to put new systems in place, and to make it more difficult for that sort of hatred to reign and that sort of hatred to take hold. And that's why we have seen an incredible surgence of hope. Why we've had more women filing petitions for elected office than ever before, nationwide. Why we have the largest ever class of applicants for Emerge. It's why a South Hero mom started a Girl Scout troop November 9th. It's amazing seeing all of us get up and say, no, we're going to be counted. We demand inclusion, we demand accountability, and we demand equality. So what do you get when you have more Democratic women in office? Well, you don't have to look a whole lot further than Montpelier to figure that out, where we have a Democratic treasurer who's talking about how to have people with disabled members of their family save for their future, how to have public retirement so people can take ownership and take care of themselves when public pensions are evaporating. Beth, you've done amazing work in the field of justice. And while she's an incredible spreadsheet geek, and I adore that about her, we share that. She translates those spreadsheets into humans and into justice and into fairness, and you're amazing. And we have two Democratic majority leaders in both the House and the Senate that are women, Jill Krowinski and Becca Balint, who are leading this work. A majority of our committee chairs in the House and Senate are women. One of them's right here, Representative Helen Head, talking about things like paid family leave so that people can give their all to their employer and be there when their family needs it. We're talking about pregnancy protections in the workplace, fighting the benefits cliff to move people out of poverty, and talking about responsible budgets. Where's Maureen? Maureen, a returning member of the House Appropriations Committee, balancing a budget without games, without shoving money, in places where it shouldn't be, and taking responsibility for what Vermonters expect their state government to live up to. I want us to be able to look back and realize that November 9th was an incredible day for women. I want us to realize that that was really the tipping point for us, where we demanded engagement and where we got out there and really took our politics by storm, where after our collective mourning, we stood shoulder to shoulder and said, nevertheless, we will persist. And since then, we've marched not just on Washington's and state capitals, but on 7 continents. We've taken to social media. We're seeing record numbers of women engaged in politics, and we're seeing younger women be interested, and we need all of you there. I've heard Keisha say before that, half of people in Congress got into politics before they were 35. And so we need young women in the pipeline now, because we need you in Washington, because that's where we shift the conversation. It's critical to have these voices around the table so that we're not on the menu. And it's going to take people willing to step up, even in the tough districts where the best we can hope for is that you just keep somebody running looking after their own seat so they're not helping somebody else. We need those of you that provide a safe harbor for the women out in public, where we can all have a safe place to fall apart, which is necessary at times. And we need the supporters and the donors there to put us back together and get us back on the front line and make sure that voters have a choice. Because if we as women and as supporters of women don't provide that choice for voters, we're never going to get anywhere. And so persistence can take a lot of different forms. It can take you stepping up to run for office. It can take your husband, as Kaya's does, saying, nope, get out there again. It can, and as my partner Bill Barron does, say, I know it's hard, but you do really good work. And it takes writing postcards and writing checks. And I know all of you in this room are doing at least one of those things. And we need you to keep doing it. We need you to run yourself for office. We need you to ask the women in your life to run for office. And we need you to persist. Because as Hillary Rodham Clinton said, that we can never stop believing that fighting for what is right is worth it. It's always worth it. And we need to keep up those fights now and for the rest of our lives.